About a month ago, a TV show aired on MGM Plus called The Institute, based on a horror novel in the same name written by the great Stephen King, the Lord of Horror, and after all, science fiction. At the first sight, a Stephen King novel seems to be more spiritual and metaphysical than being scientific. In the most of his novels, there is an evil deed within a chain of horrific, mysterious events gradually rising, adding up more to the tension, and always end up in a cathartic manner of shock, as you always end up feeling a sense of chill and pleasure, as it seems you have been graduated from a spiritual journey. But at the same time, it's so scientific, not only within the theme, but as a psychotropic session and the narration structured on psychological theories and facts. And it's not only another horror story to scare us, but works through a purification process of mind and beliefs. And this is the exact same process happening in the Institute TV show and From as well. As you can say, both From and the Institute TV show are mirroring each other thematically. Now, after watching 5 episodes of the Institute TV show, it's obvious that these two shows are portraying a bigger meaning, challenging our knowing. And I am suggesting you to watch both shows for more discoveries. After all, I'm not Father Khatri to preach you about faith and morality, but this is Ellen the Marvelous, the movie Gangstar. And as a director and screenwriter, as someone who has studied on Jungian theories and ancient mythology for over 20 years, I have decided to talk about the hero's journey as the basics of not only each script and drama, but as our life pattern. To show you how a movie or TV show is not only about fun and entertainment, but beyond that, in each and every genre, plot is always based on our lives, adventures and cycles. As drama always being born within the chaos, then we can say a drama is based on a karmic cycle, which is all about hero's journey, contains our right and wrong decisions and choices through our life path, and the matter of cause and effect, which makes us to grow and prepare to be a better version of ourselves. Anyway, let's get to the point of today's review, which is another crossover on both the Institute and From TV shows. But what am I going to talk about today? First, please be generous, hit the thumbs up and like the video. And don't hesitate to subscribe to my channel. It's been a year that I started my channel with From TV show and shared with you the most powerful breakdowns ever. Subscribe to my channel and support me. I always put a lot of work, not only to analyze everything accurately for you, it costs me a lot of time to edit and upload my reviews. Please share the link to your friends and communities. And as all of my reviews and breakdowns are connected somehow, don't forget to turn the notification bell on to be informed of all of my videos, reviews and breakdowns as I uploaded them. And be the first one watching.
Like a dream, you walked into my life just like a dream.
What am I going to talk about today is the rest of my theory on the Fromland location. In my last review, I discussed on the road 161 drew a basic metaphorical map and location for both the Institute and Fromland in an infinitesimal-like road. I also discussed on how Matthew's family ended up in Fromland, and I mentioned on Jim complained consistently that he was driving through a direct road and never turned into a wrong road. But at the very scene we see the RV turned into a sidetrack road. We saw he has turned into a sidetrack, but he is denying that. But how it's possible? Maybe at that moment there was something distracted him, as he can't remember how he was entered into another road or a sidetrack. I think maybe he has been initiated to the harm for a moment, and that was the only reason he couldn't remember that. We still don't have a lot of information on hum and how a person connects to the hum, but as it seems, it's a kind of balance between souls on the same level and tune. As shepherd tone in music, which Christopher Nolan mostly uses in his movie story narration as well, to make his audiences accompanying the story and the journey all in the same level at the same time in the same psyche. But how does humping work in the Institute, and how does it affect on the bloody shed massacre we see in Fromland? I will show you another side of the from map theory I discussed before. Back to the road, we saw how Matthew's family ended up in Fromland, but at the same time, their car not being stopped by the spiked being real, but in a car crash. And Victor mentioned later it was a rare arrival, 2 cars at the same time. And maybe it was something was happened to him when he was a child. And maybe he arrived to the town with his mother and his sister through a car crash with Christopher. Who knows who Christopher was?
Like a dream, you walked into my life just like a dream.
As we saw before, Jim entered the sidetrack unknowingly. They arrived to a fallen tree in the middle of the road, and as Jim turned back to the road, they arrived to Fromland. And we saw they were circling around. Before Boyd and Kenny could stop their RV, they ended up into a car crash. We saw the road was one-sided and it was circling. Then how it happened that we saw a black car appeared in front of them and they both fell off the road in a car crash. Now I'm going to take a deeper look towards that car accident in a crossover with the Institute TV show. But before I discuss on the car accident, I want to show you a proof on what I am going to discuss on. We talked about the black car, and in my last review, I was analyzing the road I mentioned on different colors of cars which were moving in other side of the road and in the opposite direction. I mentioned on black cars appearing in front window of the RV as Julie was performing Chronicle story as she was puppeteering Ethan's dolls. Now let's check back the Institute TV show first episode to the exact point where we see abduction agent is riding her black car out of the Institute.
Like a dream, you walked into my life just like a dream.
We saw her before had some conflicts with Mr. Stackhouse on security matter of abduction operation. We saw her left the Institute by her black car to go to the town and visit one of her friends, better to say her lover, and at last she ended up being murdered by her best friend who was a spy and a secret agent and worked on the commands of Mr. Stackhouse herself. Because he was not only suspicious on her loyalty, but Luke had seen her by the elevator in the way of Miss Sixby's office, and it was so dangerous. Overall, she was a burnt pawn and had to be removed. As she finished her by shooting a bullet to her head, she called Mr. Stackhouse and asked him for coverage. She mentioned on her disloyalty not because she was heard from her, but I believe as she was kissing her and sharing intimate moments with her, she could read her mind the exact same with what Kalisha was doing through kissing people.
Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera.
Back to From, we saw 2 cars arrive to the town at the same time. And it all happened in a rare car accident. As we discussed before, this road was circling around the creepy town. How it happened that a black car appeared in front of them, moving in a different direction. Let's check the scene first. We see a black car and a young man comes out who seems to be the driver. But he has only his pants on and a pair of slippers, and also has this blue coat on, and his clothes are not casual for someone who is driving such a car. He seems to be running from prison or maybe the institute. As he seems he has lost his pants, I assume he was running. He is spewing out, and as Jade later claims, they've been taking some drugs or illicit substances, I assume mushroom. As he is so dizzy and as he runs forward, we couldn't recognize there is someone else in the car. Now and from this very moment, we follow the story in a more intense crosscut between two different situations but not location. Of course, the location is the same from land. In next shot, we see Boyd and Kenny rolling the spy speed bar and covering it by the dirt to stop the RV. And it seems they are doing this at the exact same time the rare car accident has happened already, and all of a sudden, the weird driver, who we later know as Toby, appears asking for help. Next shot, we see inside the RV, Jim and Julie are awake. Ethan is half awake and his foot is stuck. But Tabitha is not answering and she was experiencing some type of blackout. Kenny takes Toby to the clinic. Next shot, this is Jade coming out of the car. As he seems he's woken up from a deep sleep. Boyd arrives to the scene. We see Jade thinks of others as dolls and actors as they are all have joined in a huge escape room. And still he's in a challenge with this idea until Kenny shows Toby's dead body in the grave. And as he is a man of science and logic, he believed in Toby's death. However, he was not convinced. He was still not convinced and he was trying to find a clue on everything happened to him. But I have an idea in my mind. What if both Tabitha and Jade were shared the same dream at the same time, that exact time the car crash happens, as Jade thought he was playing an instrument?
Hey. Look at me, look at me. Hey, what are you on?
What do you mean, along the ground?
Okay. Hold.
What if they were dreaming of that exact time we saw in season 3 finale when Jade was playing violin by the bottle tree as Uncle children arrive, and it's exactly convincing. Because if you check forward to the season 3 finale, you see when Jade was playing violin and Uncle children appeared, as Jade and Tabitha were convinced by those Uncle child about his past memories, maybe manipulated by the harm which we heard about on the Institute TV show and discussed before about Jim and the sidetrack. Next, we see Jim desperately is wishing for everything as they were as before, the exact wish he had before their arrival by the fallen tree in the middle of the road. We see Jim nailed by the RV. I bet this is the exact moment they had the car crash. And the man in yellow appears ripping his throat apart in front of his daughter Julie in cold blood. We only know that the man in yellow had black eyes, like monsters, and he's the one who was warned Jim on the radio about Tabitha digging that hole. Of course, we still don't know if the man in yellow also is a staff member of the Institute or not. Let me compare these both scenes for you together. The exact moment the car accident happens is the exact time that Jim says those words. As we see, Jim is looking towards fallen tree and remembers of a car accident about a mile back, and because of that, they have to circle around. He mentions on the car accident, but we never saw they passed by one.
Well, there was an exit about a mile back. I think we're gonna have to circle around.
Maybe we can push it with the RV.
I don't think that's gonna work, buddy.
But what was the car accident that Jim was talking about? We haven't seen a car accident, did we? Now let's back again to the car accident scene. First we saw inside the RV Jim was awake. He called Tabitha, but she didn't answer. She was fainted, or maybe, as I said, she was sharing a dream with Jade, who also was slept in the black car. And when Boyd was questioning him, he was thinking of himself as he was still playing a song. Julie is awake also, and this is only Ethan who is hurt by his leg and he's half awake. Now Jim is desperately looking after his family, and the first one answers him is Julie. Ethan and Tabitha are both asleep. This moment is the exact moment when the man in yellow appears to Jim in season 3 finale in front of Julie. And in the other side of the road, this is Jade, who seems to be as a PC engineer, who thinks they are all in a virtual reality game designed by his friend who calls him Toby. In season 2 finale, after Tabitha being thrown out of the window by the boy in white, opens her eyes in a hospital in Maine, Camden. She runs from the hospital, chasing the boy in white, ended up to a church where the priest is looking like Martin, the old man chained into the dungeons. All of a sudden, the priest asks her about the lunchbox, and as she opens it, there is an address, which ended her up to Victor's childhood house to meet his father Henry, and by the accident, Henry, Victor's father, is Dr. Hendricks in the Institute TV show. I bet they are connected to each other, and these Ankui children mesmerize a word Ankui, which maybe is the same with hum that in the Institute show they are talking about. Also now, maybe we can understand why Sarah kissed Toby before sacrificing him, and why Sarah should pull Elgin's eye by a screwdriver to get an answer from him, and why she let everything happen to Fatima and then sent Boyd and the others after her. She was receiving a message from voices asking her to kill the boy, and I guess maybe these 7 Ankui children stuck in the institute asking for help. And what if these children are manipulating their minds through a humming word like Ankui, as they are all playing a mind game, manipulating these poor people through their darkest personal horror stories through that dream box? And now it must be fully convincing if we count on the factory by the Institute as the very location of Fromland. Sarah was receiving a message from voices asking her to kill the boy, and I guess they were right and Sarah should kill Ethan. Or what if the Institute now is looking for Luke through everyone, because as we saw in the 5th episode of the Institute TV show, Luke left the Institute and ran away. And it might make everything a little bit difficult to comprehend. It seems Abby was right. Everyone dies in Fromland, wakes up in the bed in the other world. The exact same with something Miss Sixby told to Luke about how they leave the Institute towards home after they finish their test. I can say Sarah remembered of her role in Fromland, the exact night he spent with Victor in the fortress. At that night, Victor opened an old suitcase, which I called in my other reviews as a Pandora's box, which in this case refers to the dream box. And as Sarah took a glimpse on those stuff she could remember, and the moment Victor put his head on her shoulder, they recognized each other and made an agreement. And in season 3 finale, she pulled Elgin's eye cold-blooded and victorious, just like a criminal playing a part in her own personal horror show story to conquer to one of her own fears.
Shout, shout, let it all out. These are the things I can do without. Come on, I'm talking to you.